This is a Cat Summerhill recording, part 2 of 4.
Well spoken, little Budhorn, Bagheera purred. When the truce ends, that shall be remembered in thy favour. And he looked keenly through the darkness to make sure of recognizing the fawn again. Gradually the talking spread up and down the drinking places. One could hear the scuffling, snorting pig asking for more room, the buffaloes grunting among themselves as they lurched out across the sandbars, and the deer telling pitiful stories of their long, footsore wanderings in the quest of food. Now and again they asked some question of the eaters of flesh across the river. But all the news was bad, and the roaring hot wind of the jungle came and went between the rocks and the rattling branches and scattered twigs and dust on the water. The menfolk, too, they die beside their ploughs, said a young Sambur. I passed 3 between sunset and night. They lay still, and their bullocks with them. We also shall die still in a little. The river has fallen since last night, said Baloo. O Hathi, hast thou ever seen the like of this drought? It will pass, said Hathi, squirting water along his back and sides. We have one here that cannot endure long, said Baloo, and he looked toward the boy he loved. I, said Mowgli indignantly, sitting up in the water. I have no long fur to cover my bones, but if thy hide were taken off... Baloo? Hathi shook all over at the idea, and Baloo said severely, Man-cub, that is not seemly to tell a teacher of the law. Never have I been seen without my hide. Nay, I mean no harm, Baloo, but only that thou art, as it were, like the cocoa-nut in the husk, and I am the same cocoa-nut, all naked. Now, that brown husk of thine... Mowgli was sitting cross-legged and explaining things with his forefinger in his usual way, when Bagheera put out a paddy paw and pulled him over backward into the water. Worse and worse, said the Black Panther as the boy rose sputtering. First Baloo is to be skinned, and now he's a coconut. Be careful that he does not do what the ripe coconuts do. And what is that? Said Mowgli, off his guard for the minute, though that is one of the oldest catches in the jungle. Break thy head, said Bagheera quietly, pulling him under again. It is not good to make a jest of thy teacher, said the bear, when Mowgli had been ducked for the 3rd time. Not good. What would ye have? That naked thing running to and fro makes a monkey jest of those who have once been good hunters, and pulls the best of us by the whiskers for sport. This was Shere Khan, the lame tiger, limping down to the water. He waited a little to enjoy the sensation he made among the deer on the opposite bank. Then he dropped his square, frilled head and began to lap, growling. The jungle has become a whelping ground for naked cubs now. Look at me, man-cub. Mowgli looked, stared rather, as insolently as he knew how, and in a minute Shere Khan turned away uneasily. "Man cub this, and man cub that," he rumbled, going on with his drink. "The cub is neither man nor cub, or he would have been afraid. Next season I shall have to beg his leave for a drink. Or ogre." "That may come too," said Bagheera, looking him steadily between the eyes. "That may come too. Foul, Shere Khan, what new shame hast thou brought here?" The lame tiger had dipped his chin and jowl in the water, and dark, oily streaks were floating from it downstream. "Man," said Shere Khan coolly. "I killed an hour since." He went on purring and growling to himself. The line of beasts shook and wavered to and fro, and a whisper went up that grew to a cry. "Man! Man! He has killed Man!" Then all looked towards Hathi, the wild elephant, but he seemed not to hear. Hathi never does anything till the time comes, and that is one of the reasons why he lives so long. At such a season as this to kill Man! "Was no other game afoot," said Bagheera scornfully, drawing himself out of the tainted water and shaking each paw cat fashion as he did so. "I killed for choice, not for food." The horrified whisper began again, and Hathi's watchful little white eye cocked itself in Shere Khan's direction. "For choice," Shere Khan drawled. "Now I come to drink and make me clean again. Is there any to forbid?" Bagheera's back began to curve like a bamboo in a high wind, but Hathi lifted up his trunk and spoke quietly. "Thy kill was from choice?" he asked. And when Hathi asks a question, it is best to answer. "Even so, it was my right and my night. Thou knowest, O Hathi." Shere Khan spoke almost courteously. "Yes, I know," Hathi answered, and after a little silence, "Hast thou drunk thy fill? For tonight? Yes. Go then. The river is to drink, and not to defile." None but the lame tiger would so have boasted of his right at this season, when we suffer together, man and jungle people alike. "Clean or unclean, get to thy lair, Shere Khan!" The last words rung out like silver trumpets, and Hathi's 3 sons rolled forward, half a pace, though there was no need. Shere Khan slunk away, not daring to growl, for he knew, what everyone else knows, that when the last comes to the last, Hathi is the master of the jungle. "What is this right Shere Khan speaks of?" Mowgli whispered in Bagheera's ear. "To kill a man is always shameful. The law says so. And yet Hathi says, ask him. I do not know, little brother. Right or no right, if Hathi had not spoken, I would have taught that lame butcher his lesson. To come to the Peace Rock fresh from a kill of man, and to boast of it, is a jackal's trick. Besides, he tainted the good water. Mowgli waited for a minute to pick up his courage, because no one cared to address Hathi directly, and then he cried, "What is Shere Khan's right, O Hathi?" Both banks echoed his words, for all the people of the jungle are intensely curious, and they had just seen something that none, except Baloo, who looked very thoughtful, seemed to understand. "It is an old tale," said Hathi, "a tale older than the jungle. Keep silence along the banks, and I will tell that tale." There was a minute or two of pushing and shouldering among the pigs and the buffalo, and then the leaders of the herds grunted one after another. "We wait," and Hathi strode forward till he was nearly knee-deep in the pool by the Peace Rock. Lean and wrinkled and yellow-tusked though he was, he looked what the jungle knew him to be, their master. "Ye know, children," he began, "that of all things ye most fear man." And there was a mutter of agreement. "This tale touches thee, little brother," said Bagheera to Mowgli. I am of the pack, a hunter of the free people," Mowgli answered. "What have I to do with man?" "And ye do not know why ye fear man," Hathi went on. "This is the reason. In the beginning of the jungle, and none know when that was, we of the jungle walked together, having no fear of one another. In those days there was no drought, and leaves and flowers and fruit grew on the same tree, and we ate nothing at all except leaves and flowers and grass and fruit and bark." "I am glad I was not born in those days," said Bagheera. "Bark is only good to sharpen claws." And the Lord of the Jungle was Thaw, the first of the elephants. He drew the jungle out of deep waters with his trunk, and where he made furrows in the ground with his tusks, there the rivers ran, and where he struck with his foot, there rose ponds of good water. And when he blew through his trunk, thus the trees fell. That was the manner in which the jungle was made by Thaw. And so the tale was told to me. "It has not lost fat in the telling," Bagheera whispered, and Mowgli laughed behind his hand. "In those days there was no corn, or melons, or pepper, or sugar cane, nor were there any little huts such as ye have all seen. And the jungle people knew nothing of man, but lived in the jungle together, making one people. But presently they began to dispute over their food, though there was grazing enough for all. They were lazy. Each wished to eat where he lay, as sometimes we can do now when the spring rains are good. Thaw, the first of the elephants, was busy making new jungles and leading the rivers in their beds. He could not walk in all places. Therefore he made the first of the tigers, the master, and the judge of the jungle, to whom the jungle people should bring their disputes. In those days, the first of the tigers ate fruit and grass with the others. He was as large as I am, and he was very beautiful, in colour, all over like the blossom of the yellow creeper. There was never stripe nor bar upon his hide in those good days when the jungle was new. All the jungle people came before him without fear, and his word was the law of all the jungle. We were then, remember ye, one people. Yet upon a night there was a dispute between two bucks, a grazing quarrel such as ye now settle with the horns and the forefeet. And it is said that as the two spoke together before the first of the tigers lying among the flowers, a buck pushed him with his horns, and the first of the tigers forgot that he was the master and judge of the jungle, and leaping upon that buck, broke his neck. Till that night, never one of us had died, and the first of the tigers, seeing what he had done, and being made foolish by the scent of the blood, ran away into the marshes of the north, and we of the jungle, left without a judge, fell to fighting among ourselves. And Thaw heard the noise of it, and came back. Then some of us said this, and some of us said that. But he saw the dead buck among the flowers, and asked who had killed, and we of the jungle would not tell, because the smell of the blood made us foolish.